Hi, everybody. It's Stacy Sobel with Salon Today Conversations, and today I'm with Faatemah Faatemah from Minneapolis. Hi, Faatemah. How are you?
How you doing? I'm great. Thank you, Stacey, for having me.
Well, I really have been following your story very closely because you were going to open on Monday, and you are in Minneapolis, and after the death of George Floyd and the riots and looting that ensued, tell us what has happened to your neighborhood.
Well, the complete neighborhood that I'm in has been destroyed. So there was a lot of fires, and the fires are what have caused the most substantial damage. So to my business, there wasn't much. There was, comparable. When you compare it to the damage that you see, it's like, oh, thank God I only got vandalized, but everyone else is trying to figure out how to open up their doors because we've got glass, we got electrical fire damage. That I think there was a gas station that was shown on national news that blew up, and that was one block. It's actually only half a block from my business. So we were definitely in the center of two major fires. And I remember my business friend, a colleague across the street, called me at 2 a.m. and he said, Faatemah, are you okay? And I said, I'm okay. He said, okay, I'm calling you to tell you I'm not okay because I'm literally watching my building go in flames on television. And my heart just sunk. And, so it's been the financial piece of it is immeasurable because the damage is done for about a 20-mile radius of this main avenue called Lake Street. And so a lot of people are like, well, they have insurance, they can get it fixed up. Well, he has insurance, but they're not going to cover everything. The fire damage was so extensive for him. He was saying, number one, even just the glass, it would take 10 weeks because everyone that had glass is shattered, just about. So you got all these businesses between the span of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And it was, all these little pockets where all of a sudden everybody needs glass and everybody needs plywood and everyone needs, so it's just, it's indescribable. I hope that I never see anything like that again in my lifetime. And I hope that we never see anything like COVID again in our lifetime either. So, but I first want to just, before we have this discussion about the damage and the impact, I want to give my condolence to George Floyd's family, because I think it's really important to really have the hard conversation about why we would have something like this explode, not just in Minneapolis. That was the spark, but the rest of it is has been national.
Right.
The murder of George Floyd sparked and ignited a conversation that Black America has been trying to have with America for way too long. And so the spill out of that is all of this emotion, and people aren't feeling like they're being heard. And one of the things that I want to say is we need reform in so many ways beyond police reform. So I'm having this interview with Salon Today to really challenge businesses with their responsibility and what does your business reform look like. So thank you for giving me the room to help heal a race. Racism cannot be solved by Black people because we don't want it. So we can't fix it because it's not something that we inflict ourselves. And so I think it's important for me to say that. And currently, as a result of that, I thought about all the symbolization and everything that's happened to me as a business. Now, even if my business opens, because we have all the plywood and all the graffiti that is honoring George's life, and the city doesn't want people to forget about him, that becomes a deterrent for the business, even though I support that people want justice for him. And so what I want to challenge people to do is to look, George died because people judged a book by its cover. And any business that's been impacted by this is still that same amazing business, but we have plywood up and maybe we can't be fully operational. I'm just going to challenge people to look beyond that and see the inside and the core of what the essence of that person is. So thank you for giving me room to have this.
You're very welcome. And I think that's a very powerful message. And I watched your Facebook Live the other day, and it was really powerful, really emotional. But you had a line in there where you talked about we need to have courageous conversations.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to have courageous conversations, but shattering glass is not the answer. And it was a good, you really had a good emotion there and was really well put.
Thank you. So I should share that I'm wearing glasses because I have been, it's been very emotional for several reasons. Not just being an owner impacted by it, because, you know, as an African-American person that has lived through lots of oppression, racism, you know, all of the things, I understand. I understand the rage. The conversation that I was trying to have was, I believe in nonviolence. And there's a huge debate right now. People feel like, no, the world hasn't been listening to us. And all the, you know, I've had friends offer to come sweep up the glass. And one of the things I want to say is, sweeping up my glass isn't going to keep me in business, nor will temporary donations, because it is so much more to be sustained, as you know, as a business. So if there's nothing else that I want to make clear from this conversation that we're having, because I know a lot of people may not understand me. Number one, I believe we need to have courageous conversations followed by action that leads to change. Those are, you know, because people are debating back and forth. I just can't stop the tears. So we're just going to act like I'm not crying. People are, you know, I lost a friend today because, you know, she sat on a different side on, we want the same thing, but she just felt that it's okay by any means necessary. And I'm thinking, well, all of that destruction to me hasn't brought any progress. So I would like to, I think that people are looking for leadership. And in that leadership, what does reform look like for the world, not just the police department? Because we have so many disparities in our community in the workplace. Just doing things that you would never think about that impact you because no one treats you different. So I wanted to do a call to action by saying to anyone that can make a difference, there are 3 things that African-American, and I don't want to just make this a black or white thing, but George died and we need to talk about this because the race war with African-Americans has been brewing since slavery. You know, we feel that we've never gotten the room to thrive. And so what we need is financial support, whatever that looks like, grants, whatever, donations. We need patronage. We need your business and you need ours. We are great consumers, but we would like for people to support our brands as well. And we need scalability. And in order to have scalability, that looks like we need to have resources. And a lot of times we don't have access to that. And that is a privilege I wasn't born with, but I've made friendships and things that have sustained my brand and helped it grow. So my call to action to anyone that is watching this saying, I'm not a racist, because you probably are not. The challenge becomes, how do you become an anti-racism fighter? And that is through action. And the action is, if I own a business and I look in my boardroom and no one looks like me, or everyone looks like me, then you've got a problem with that. If you own a business that is selling to everyone in the world, every kind of consumer, from women, men, black, white, whatever, but your board is all white men, there's a problem with that because they can't identify with their market, in my opinion. And if you own a business, or if you don't own a business and you want to help, do you have a skill that you can help assist somebody with? And one of the examples I'll give with that is, we all went through COVID and I had to fill out the EIDL loan and I never got it because the paperwork for me and all of the dots and the T's. And I ended up getting help with from Jason Backey and Ted Gibson. So we need resources. So if you have a skill, let's say that you don't have any money to give and you don't have a big company to fill a boardroom. I just had a woman call me today and say, hey, Faatemah, I've been following you on social. I've got a co-working space. If someone is out of a space to work right now, I'm willing to donate that space. That is the kind of leadership we need. And that is how change happens. So I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to let you ask me questions so that I don't ramble on and on, because there's just so much in my heart that I feel that I need to share, because finally we can speak we can speak about it, you know,
Well,
because the world is listening.
and I appreciate what you just said, because as someone who is white, but doesn't consider herself a racist and doesn't want the world to be this way, I don't know what to do either. So it's helpful to have some actionable items that everybody can address. And if everybody works toward that goal, we can make this world a lot better.
Absolutely. I learned through this because I've done a lot in my life, and, you know, I'm a public speaker and done a lot of things. And I realized that people hang on to your every word. So I'm trying to use my words very carefully. And what I do understand about citizens is that some people, like myself, I own a business, so I come up with an action plan. Some people, they're worker bees. I don't know how to come up with that plan, but I sure want to help you build that bridge. And so the things that I'm talking about, this whole financial support, patronage, scalability through mentorship and resources, means that we're all doing the work to bridge the gap. And it's a huge gap. And how it's impacted me as a person of color in the beauty industry is, I actually think our industry is one of the last openly segregated places in America. There's segregation for sure, and there's discrimination, there's all this stuff, but we openly acknowledge that all of the Black hair care companies are in the back of the showroom floor, and everyone's comfortable with that except for us. We openly accept that in every store that our products are placed in a separate section than everyone else's, when hair is a fabric, not a race. We have different textures. We openly accept that we have lots of people outside of myself and Ted Gibson and whatever, that all the jobs that I've ever been offered by major companies has been a job that has marginalized my skill set. And that means even though I can do all things, the only jobs I was offered was to marginalize me and put me in a box and say, you know, we want you to be our African-American hair specialist. Why? I do all hair. And that's not to say that I'm not happy to do African-American hair. I grew up doing African-American hair, but I think there's a greater responsibility here, not to be color blind, but to be color brave. Because I love when you see my color. I love when you see my excellence. I love when you celebrate it with me. I don't want for you to be colorblind. I want for you to be color brave. I want for people to act, you know, and this is a long conversation, overdue. So much reform that has to happen and won't happen overnight. But I want people to understand that this is not a trend. This is not a trend. It's not going anywhere until we start working together as a collective to fix the wrongs. And even if you didn't personally do the wrong, because of the systematic oppression that people have suffered from, it's not going to go away. So we have to do our part. And that's whatever your part can be. And maybe your part right now, Stacey, is you just gave me space. You gave me room. You didn't tell me how to narrate my story or my experience. And that is powerful, because that can be shared and someone will hear this and say, well, I mean, I don't have money, but I can do this. I mean, I think it's beautiful that that woman who's been closed for 9 weeks of COVID said, I have a co-working space and I'm willing to donate that. That's beautiful. And she said, and I feel, I mean, because what she shared with me is she never knew that she had white privilege because it was just her life. And if it is what it is, that's fine, but we do have a responsibility. Privilege to me is not something, you can't help it if you have privilege, because you're born with it, right? You're born with privilege, but privilege means you have a responsibility. If you know that you have 10 plates of food on your table and there's someone that lives next to you that doesn't have one, it is your human responsibility to try to help your brother out. You know, so this conversation is most certainly a charged, heated debate about race and space in America to grow and thrive and breathe and live. And it's just so powerful that his last words were, I can't breathe, because I'm pretty sure that is how most African Americans feel in America. So we just want room to breathe, to grow, to thrive. And I'm trying to use my platform to really share this in a way that is compassionate, that charges people to lead with love. And I have to stand in the space of my own authenticity, because there's so many people that want me to give you a different narrative. It does not make me feel passive because I'm saying we need to have a courageous conversation. I just feel that violence begets violence. I understand why every person out there was mad. And I actually don't believe that people went out trying to destroy their property, their businesses, their whatever. That was a result of something far bigger. I think that we had agitators involved in that protest that had nothing to do with justice for George. So I should definitely make that clear. But as a result of all of that emotion, we have this spill out that fell out into our cities, and it's ugly. And it's ugly work that we're all responsible for. I wish I could stop crying.
It's okay. Take a breath.
I mean, if anyone could have, I watched the video and I didn't know that I was going to watch a man die. It got sent to me. And I don't think that I've stopped crying since the day I saw that. And my tears change every day. Every day I cry. Because there's something new that I learned about myself and my responsibility to get justice for him. And like I said about understanding your power and what you have, my power is a platform to be a voice to say, I charge your company with the responsibility of first having this courageous, uncomfortable conversation and listening, and then a call to action on how you can help stop and change this so that generations from here won't have the same oppression. You know, we all have an active responsibility. I think my tears today are because I'm actually losing friends behind this, and it's the whole, you know, I'm very firm on nonviolence, and I don't need to explain that to anyone, and I'm not going to. This is how I feel about it. If they want to do what they want to do, then they do that. I'm going to do what I feel in my heart is going to make a difference. And this is my avenue. This is how I know how to move around. So I would really hate for them to be right in this. I would really like to think that I can start these courageous conversations in rooms that haven't heard it. And I would really like to think that I could give the call to action that really will trickle down and impact so many lives and so many communities. I mean, I've been trying to desegregate the beauty aisle for my entire career, you know? So it's things like that, just feeling not heard. We're definitely seen, but we're not always seen the way we want to be seen. So, do you have any questions for me? Because I could literally talk about it.
Because most of our viewers will be salon owners, and let's have a frank conversation about salons in our society today. Yeah. And you know, I've been in this role for almost 25 years, so I have definitely seen some movement towards salons bracing texture of all kinds, but we're still pretty segregated. There's still pretty much the white salons and the black salons. If you own a salon today, how can you change that if you want to change that?
Well, you know, what's interesting is I usually only get a call from a high end, or there's a couple famous salons that have called me to do texture education after a lawsuit. So the first thing you can do is to seek that education before it's a problem. And today in 2020, if any person cannot come in your salon and be patronized, there's a problem with that, because even in a black salon, anyone can come in that salon and be patronized. So interesting enough, someone that donated food to the food drive that I gave said, I just love what you're doing and I want to support you. And can you do white hair? And I'm thinking, that's the only thing anyone ever taught me to do. Absolutely, I can do it. But I just think that's funny. It's like, girl, we can do everything because we have to do everything. We have to be flexible, but no one has to, again, care about our patronage. And so, yes, the first thing that a salon owner should do is to put together a comprehensive plan of, can we service anyone that comes through that door. And again, this does not even begin to be just a Black hair thing. It's like the world is so blended and polyethnic that you just need to master curly hair, because curly hair is the thing. It's like there's a natural movement going on right now, and you need to be able to work with that. So that would be the first thing that I charge them with is, if you don't have anyone in the salon that can be that resource, reaching out to salon professionals. And right now with COVID, you can still get virtual education. I noticed that it was a missing gap in our community. And so I got involved with the board of beauty education here. It's a certified board. And I will be giving classes online for, it was just a gap in our system as well, as it is probably most cities. So thank you for asking that.
Oh, you're welcome. So I do want to talk about when do you think you'll be able to open your business? Do you have any idea yet?
It's looking like sometime next week. I'm trying to figure out how frank to be with this conversation. A large part of the demographic of clientele that I serve is outside of the city. And so they didn't even want to come to my salon because it's like the hip uptown. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like in New York, like Soho. But they didn't really want to come to Soho, but they came because of me. And now with all of this, I've gotten lots of cancellations. Like, is it safe? I'm afraid. And, that's the thing. That's why I think that fear doesn't work. It's not a motivator for people. If you're afraid, if you're afraid of someone, you don't want to be their friend. I don't want people to be afraid of me. I don't want people to be afraid of my community, because we are a very loving community. You just got to get to know us. And my clients support me wholeheartedly. They don't want to cancel. They're just like, can you make a house call? No, you need to come patronize my business, because my business needs your business more now than ever. So after I had that dialogue with 3 clients, they had a change of heart. But I literally have had to get on the phone and say, I would not wake up every day and go into a community that I didn't feel safe in, because I have 2 kids too. And I need their business more than ever. So we are going to open next week officially on Tuesday. It is a different environment than what they're used to driving into. So that's going to be a little bit of a shocker. So I'm trying to prepare clients as much as possible. And that's the conversation we had was, the book looks like this, but on the inside is that still that amazing, thriving community full of, actually my area has like 7 minority-owned businesses right on the same block. So my goal I've saved my salon. Now, actually, I should give Hair Nerds the credit for that. They started a GoFundMe that has sustained my business for at least the next 2 months. And I am grateful for that. So that has sustained me enough where my job now is to try to save the other businesses around me, because I'm nothing without those businesses to operate with. We're collected. So
I do want to ask you about that, because I was really amazed with the action that you took pretty quickly after this happened. And one of the interesting things that I don't think people realized is what happened in your community, because of all the destruction, everything's closed. And I think is public transportation is also closed because of COVID. Yeah. And then
we have right.
So it's a pretty big radius. How large is the region? But
it's going down, specifically one area where all the fires and looting happened within my area goes from a span of about 15 to 20 miles. So it's pretty extensive. And in those areas, we lost gas stations, ATMs, so banks are closed. I tried to, we've got repairs and things like that to make in the salon. And I tried to go to Ace Hardware today. I keep waking up every day and forgetting that nothing is open. So I've got to drive about 20 to 30 miles to get basic needs, nails, whatever for the salon. And I actually, the day after, or I think it was the day that I did that emotional video live, I needed food. I didn't realize everything in the city would be closed, because that's the first time anything like this happened. And I had to drive 30 minutes outside the city to get food. And I had a client call me and said, oh my God, I watched everything on the news and I saw your Facebook Live. How can I help? And I said, girl, I don't know. All I know is I just literally had to drive 30 miles for food. And I said, maybe we should try to feed people. So I go to bed because I'm so emotional and upset. And I wake up the next morning and she sent me a text and said, is 6 bags of food okay? And that was how the food drive was started.
Wow.
So my client who lives 40 minutes outside of the city, who probably only know, I don't know. I just think that's so it started with her 10 bags. I put a post on Facebook, and within 2 hours we had enough goods. We stayed out there all day. So it was a 2-day drive. So the first day we collected the food, and then I found donors for bags, because what I initially wanted to do was just get food and dump it off at a hub. Well, there is no hub. Everything is so extensive that we looked and we found out we're the missing link in that community. So my salon became the hub. And because we will reopen, I will now do the food drives. Just we will receive one day, Saturdays at the end of the day, and we will give on Sunday. And just Facebook gave me everyone. I said, we need drivers, we need this. People rallied. And that was my aha moment of, okay, we see a need and we actually have to act on it. Instead of bringing it to a shelter, I can be the hub. And also it showed me when every single person that didn't look like me, a lot of white people came to donate, said, thank you for giving me something to do. I'm sitting at home and I'm so upset and I don't know how to help. I feel bad. And so I'm going to keep giving our citizens call to actions. And today I charged our community with tagging any minority owned business and saying, first tag them if you know they have a need for money or any kind of work to be done, so I can know how I can assist them. Tag them if they need our patronage, and tag any kind of organization that you know that people can donate to that is going to funnel monies back into the community, because I don't have all the answers. I'm putting it together as I can. So that's what I've been doing. I just keep trying to assess what the need is and then being that vehicle for the community to get the resources. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
You gathered all this food, but then other people were delivering for you? Is that?
Yeah, we had over 500 bags. So most people, organically, people in the community found us. But my biggest concern was, because the radius of the destruction is so large, I started thinking about vulnerable senior citizens, vulnerable youth, homeless people, people that just don't have single moms. I mean, those were all the people on my mind, because when I had to drive and get my food, I was like, man, what if I didn't have a vehicle? There is no bus, and we haven't had buses in a long time. And so, so I'll continue to try to fill those gaps. So I probably once a week will check in with the community and say, hey, do you know us? Because we got Pampers and milk, and those were drop-offs because those mothers couldn't come and get it. So we just had people just share, I think this person needs this. Or when people were driving by down the street, I waved and I said, hey, do you know someone that might? I mean, we were flagging people down, like, we want to help the community. And people would pull over. Yes, I know 2 people that live over here and I'm going to bring them this. So that's how that was done.
What a great effort. I mean,
it was really powerful to take, when something bad happens, and it's to everyone, COVID is bad to everyone, but people internalize that for just, this is how this has affected me, and I'm sad for me, and I was. And I thought, well, that's not a useful way to use my energy. And honestly, the only day that I didn't cry was the day that we gave the food out, because just people were like, thank you so much. We gave out masks, we gave out hand sanitizer, it wasn't just food. It was essential items that we all take for granted that we have every day in our house. So I'm boohooing about, brick and mortar when people's lives have been destroyed, because we can rebuild brick and mortar. I can find another venue and start over. But that process showed me that the healing is beyond the brick and mortar, that we have to heal our communities. And that process with having my client and all these people working together for one common good showed me that that's what the nation needs. We just need to get in it and roll our sleeves up and work together and provide the needs of people that are disparaging. And it was powerful. I mean, a lot of the people that volunteered cried. They said, we had no idea. So I think that it's great that we have room and that people are listening. And And I appreciate anyone that is going to make even one effort to try to do something different to heal our nation and to close the gap on racial oppression and discrimination.
Well, and I know one of the videos I thought was powerful because you were showing people your community, but the spirit of your community and the good things in your community, because, you know, right now, obviously it's on the news and that's what people are seeing. So you were showing the other side of it. And I thought that that was really strong.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And what I'm proud that we have a lot of women that own businesses in that area that I'm at too. And that's rare. Like we are prime real estate. I never even thought about how many of us were minorities or how many were women until this happened, which shows you how we were just operating, right?
Right.
And so what I'm doing now is making sure that I try to do like the food drive. When I told my neighbor who's a plant-owned, he's the only vegan plant-based Black-owned restaurant in Minneapolis, which is a big deal, and it's good food. And he drove up and he said, he was like, I was so sad today. I got up and I needed to cook. So he cooked for my volunteers, and then he just started giving free food out to the people he's like, you give the free cold food, I give the free hot food. And I said, we've got to do this again. We got to do it intentional and bigger. And he said, Faatemah, I will do. He was like, I love that, because it takes us out of our own space of sadness because we're doing something for someone else. And people like us, entrepreneurs, are typically servant leaders. You know, we lead by service. Typically, there's all kinds of entrepreneurs, but I know that I am a servant leader, meaning that I feel best when I am making someone feel good. So it was powerful.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. And I want to invite you to continue having courageous conversations with us. They're so important. And I know a lot of people, I think you gave some great advice, because a lot of people are just at a loss at what to do about the situation. So
yeah,
having some solid ideas is really powerful.
Well, I want to end with, this is not, like I said, it's not a trend. It's not going to go away. Now the scab has been ripped wide open from Black America's body. And, you know, people are hurting. They are. So also exercise patience and compassion when you can't understand when someone is so angry at you and you're like, I didn't do it. But understand that it's coming from a space of so much pain. And I think right now the appropriate thing to do is say, I'm sorry, how can I help you? How can I help you? Because I can't fix maybe all those things, but how can I help you as a person? How can I help you as a business? And how can I help you as, you know, your brother or your sister? Because honestly, this race problem is a humanity problem, and we need to show each other love and compassion at all times. So I thank you so much for having me. And I'm not going to apologize for my tears, because I've been crying, and sometimes they're tears of joy. And today I'm starting to feel like we can make some serious change and some traction and do some really good things.